Welcome back to Project 90X, the show where a disembodied voice watches and reviews a random anime series from the 1990s, and maybe some movies too at some point. Today we're doing another insanely popular behemoth, Fancy Lala. Who doesn't remember that one? It's a household name. Our story begins in, not present day like the intro suggested. Where and when is this?
Time that we have spent in the past is gone and is nowhere to be found. In that case, we have to ask, does the time we've spent until now have any meaning to it at all?
Okay, you're not doing anything to alleviate my confusion here. Oh great, somebody fed their mogwai after midnight. Flash forward to present day, or I guess it was a dream. Or was it?
I'm sure that I didn't just dream it all up.
An ancient village surrounded by dinosaurs?
Mm-hmm. And the dinosaurs would roar!
What else could it have been but a dream?
I'm serious.
Oh no, I'm gonna be late! Miho, I've gotta go now!
I love your uniform.
Thanks, they make me wear it and it looks exactly like my other 5. So this is Miho, a typical 3rd grade girl with a name that I can't take seriously because of its meaning in Spanish. But anyway, today is her first day of school, and she's still saying weird stuff.
Akira! Looks like we're in the same class again. Really? Really, class 3. You're right, that's great! What's wrong, Miho? Taro Yoshida's in our class.
I'm your homeroom teacher as of today, kids. I'm single, I'm 30, and I enjoy Tai Chi.
Do you have a girlfriend, teacher?
Were you not listening at all? No wonder no one likes you.
I'm Miho Shinohara. I was in class 3 last year. I look forward to becoming friends with my new classmates and enjoying our days together as fellow students. It's a pleasure to meet you. Miho, you're awesome.
Wow, don't forget to tell them about the Red Ryder BB gun you want for Christmas too. After school, Miho goes to a toy store and experiences some more weird phenomena when she hears 2 creatures talking to each other.
See, I think she noticed.
She's only a human being.
Oh, she's looking this way.
The creatures, which she thinks are toys, hitch a ride on her backpack out the door, and the shopkeeper accuses her of shoplifting. A product which he doesn't even sell.
I don't even want them.
First you try to steal them, and now you tell me you don't want them?
I really don't want these.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a toy with an anus either. Suddenly, the weird man from Miho's dream premonition past life memory appears and puts money down to purchase the 2 toys for her, and she's off the hook. And she's scored a couple of possessed Furbies. Miho's family is way more interesting than they have any right to be. Miho, for starters, draws really well. The father is a paleontologist, the mother works in TV production, and the older sister is, well, I guess she's the boring one. Miho starts hearing the voices again and manages to get the Furbies to finally out themselves as sentient beings from another space-time.
You 2 are fairies? Really?
Please let us stay here till we can return to our own world. We're not garbage.
In return, we'll give you magic. Magic? You mean if I go like this, then I turn into something else?
Clearly rethinking the magical offering thing. Miho takes to her new magical girl lifestyle like a duck to water, not even questioning, well, anything.
Done now.
Let me look. Great. Seems pretty good.
Now, as you place the cap back on the pen, say, loose and baggy. Weird spell. Loose and baggy.
Nice. In Cardcaptor, wardrobe design had to be outsourced. Why was your first idea for clothing the exotic dancer's raincoat from Blade Runner?
In all my heart, to the memories of time, I will become the spectacular Fancy Lala!
That name is so dumb and totally believable for a third grader to pull out of the air for an alter ego. This is like the only acceptable excuse for this show having such a stupid name.
I'm so much taller.
But your voice is the same, which is odd. She should sound different. Also, her hair is blue now. Why? This is a lot to unload on the audience all at once, and I wish it was paced a little slower and with more significance or consequences to the character's discovery of these pretty remarkable things. Miho wants to go about her daily life, but with magic. She can't figure out how to bring Mog and Pog with her without freaking people out, so they just transform into bangles on her wrists and away they go.
There's nowhere to transform here.
Why do you have to transform and walk around town anyway?
You can walk around as you are now. But I'm eager to test everything out. Test what out? I want to see if people think I'm beautiful after I transform.
Are you kidding me? Magic is wasted on the young.
Loosen baby. What a tiresome kind of magic to have to get changed every time.
Wait, she has to get herself dressed every time she transforms into an adult? That's not how magical girls work! Fancy Lala magic can make you older and even make real clothes out of drawings on paper, but it will not dress you. A Ferris wheel? Just find a public restroom. While wandering around town, Miho incidentally connects with a group desperate for a backup model for their photo shoot, and she gets a modeling gig, plus the possibility of future work with them. But of course, things become complicated as her double life begins to take shape.
I figured why not buy some clothes for my daughters? Miho, we'll have to go out and buy you some clothes too.
Let me think now. What would I really like? I'd rather have my own bank account than clothes, Dad. Do you think you could arrange that for me?
Uh-huh. Wanting to be certain she can contact her again, the director actually gives Lala a cell phone.
Really? You want to become a cartoonist, Miho? Why not? You know, a cartoon might become popular, turn into a TV show, and I'd have signing sessions at bookstores.
This kid is way too enterprising. You know what I was doing in 3rd grade? Watching Ren and Stimpy and wasting every penny I had on Nerf and Legos. Now look at me.
That's what you get for not paying attention.
How dare you? You're a brat. Go away.
Fine.
He is such a lowlife.
Whoa, Miho, that's kind of a devastating judgment to make on a stupid little kid who's just being a stupid little kid. Where did you even learn that word? So this super obnoxious kid Taro gets them both in trouble and they end up having to draw each other, which is brilliantly the punishment that keeps on punishing, but does nothing to help them make up.
Hello?
Hello, Lala.
Lala? Yes, Lala here.
She was this close to putting on an older voice until she realized that her older voice isn't actually any different from her regular voice. Miho gets more work, but is beginning to struggle with her schedule. Are there any rules for what these creatures can't do? She ends up doing ads for a deodorant product, which naturally leads to her having to wrestle someone to get a 10-second TV spot. I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. This is peak Japan.
Now you have that 10 seconds for your commercial.
The new powder and deodorant is on sale in time for the summer season. Use it before a date or when playing sports. And Taro Yoshida of Fujigaoka Elementary School, you've got to be nicer to the girls.
Nice.
Good morning. Get going with vitamin-rich garlic power. Get going with vitamin-rich garlic power. Get going with vitamin-rich garlic power.
What? There's an angry garlic clock that wakes you up with advertisements for garlic, and there's a little boxing glove. Japan!
I'm sorry, Lala. Today's shoot is canceled.
Huh?
They suddenly decided to postpone the charging garlic program. Therefore, you don't have to come in today.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, that still doesn't explain the clock. So Miho's Sunday garlic majigger photo shoot got cancelled, so she's just bumming around the house. Isn't it a little early in the series to be having a filler episode? I know that there still must be some more plot developments and some sort of grand scheme for all of these mysterious elements to be tied together, but right now this show is about a little girl who uses magical powers to experience the stress and responsibilities of adulthood and a double life. I mean, as an adult, I very much identify with wanting to use magical powers to get a job that I want. I get that modeling looks like a glamorous dream job, but I'd think realistically Miho would be overwhelmed and burned out by all the non-glamorous responsibilities that come with it. And then she'd just decide, you know what, I'm just going to magic a bunch of clothing into existence and open up a clothing store. Miho's boring day turns into a day with her dad. That's cool. They go to a dinosaur museum where they see Miho's sister Chisa out on a date with her boyfriend, which she lied about for some reason. When you lie about going to meet your boyfriend, you typically don't go to a dinosaur museum. The two spy on her, but Miho has the idea to do it as Fancy Lala. Imagine being in a public restroom and you hear this coming out of one of the stalls.
With all my heart to the memories of time, I will become the spectacular Fancy Lala!
What is it? For me?
It's a Tyrannosaurus tooth, the ferocious king of the land.
So what?
Well, I just thought it would look great on you.
Why does the tooth of a ferocious dinosaur suit me?
Man, I don't know. Is it really worth trying to make things work out with a girl that doesn't appreciate dinosaurs? If I gave my wife a dinosaur tooth necklace when we were dating, she'd think that was the coolest shit ever. The Furbies cause an unnecessary ruckus in the museum and blow their cover.
No! Wait! Ugh. Huh? The mystery man?
What was that about?
I'm terribly sorry. The robots seem to be malfunctioning.
So those were just robots?
Yeah, I guess so.
That was stupid. Miho keeps getting sucked deeper into her new career as the agency pushes to develop her into a singer to get her more jobs. She gets a time to audition, but forgets that it conflicts with the time she's supposed to appear with her friend on a game show.
Get this! Amazingly for us, the events are being held at the same time and same place, the Kiraboshi studio.
Well, of course they are, and I'm sure you'll be able to juggle both of them perfectly. But in the meantime, she's training both for her audition and the game show, which is a physical challenge type thing for kids. The big day goes exactly like you've already seen this sort of thing go a dozen times before. Miho has to keep leaving her friend at inopportune times to go do audition segments.
Huh? I'm sorry. Kiru! Sorry, I give up. I'm just too full.
Come on! Don't joke!
You expect me to eat the rest? Sorry.
Wait a minute!
Are you friggin' serious? They screwed this scene up. This is what should have happened. Miho should have left the Furbies under the table to sneak pork buns to because all they ever do is eat. Then her none the wiser friend can still be amazed that she ate all those pork buns and there's still a realistic reason for them getting into the finals. And also her friend wouldn't have gotten a paralyzing stomach ache in the final round, costing them the win. When Miho tries to do the singing portion of her audition, she chokes after hearing that her friend left in an ambulance. She totally bombed and failed everyone, and that feels really satisfying for some reason. Even with magic, she is still a mere mortal. Mo magic, mo problems. Lesson learned, right? Wrong. She's immediately late for her next gig and has to run all the way to the studio and didn't even have time to transform before she got there.
Is it my imagination or did something scoot under your dress? Whoa!
Her changing places are getting weirder and weirder. Her whole job this time centers on delivering this one bizarre line.
I don't care what happens to me, but children. It will be my parting gift to my mother who was tragically killed, so I request that you go and do as your heart desires.
This has to be some sort of commercial because I can't imagine the rest of this sci-fi TV production working as a story with her just saying this one line. Speaking of story, we get introduced to some new characters as Miho and 2 other novice models hit the beach to do a shoot with a big-time prima donna known as Miki Umeno. It's cold outside for swimsuits and conflict arises as Miki tries to push the extras further into the background until their feet are in the water. Miho bluntly tells her to knock it off and surprisingly things de-escalate and they get the shoot done. Although I have a feeling Miki will remember this. Miho continues failing at her responsibilities in both lives, habitually being late for everything, this time for helping take care of the class sheep. Taro and Anna see Miho flit by the window in adult form at school and think it's a ghost.
If you start dealing with ghosts and take them too lightly, they can sneak up on you and possess you.
Oh, so you really saw one? Let's all go and look for it.
Wow, so Miho is going to go look for herself. Thrilling. The stupid sheep bites Pug, who runs away with the animal in hot pursuit. And then they had to put the sheep down because of its injuries, and the kids learned a valuable lesson about the fragility of life, but the guilt would follow them well into adulthood. They chalk this up as the animal's behavior to supernatural phenomenon and continue into the school in search of the ghost.
Something terrible happened in the music room of the school. It happened before we were even born.
What happened?
Once, a little girl mysteriously disappeared. And they say that even today, her ghost continues to roam the hallways of this building.
What happened to her? Where did she go?
They don't know. She vanished just like that.
Penalty: unspecified death in the ghost story. The storyteller must retell the story. On cue, they hear sad piano emanating from the upper floor. Everyone freaks out and runs except the intrepid Miho.
Why don't you just transform again? You might be less frightened of the ghost if you turn into an adult. Hey, you're right!
I guess that makes sense.
I know it's not as good, but my hand is shaking. So it turned out like this.
My hand is shaking. All I could draw was a bloody smock and a scream mask. Why did you even need to draw a wig? You already have hair, and all you're doing is investigating a possible ghost. Alone. So she transforms and looks like a ghost, unintentionally perpetuating the stupid theory about ghosts at the school. There are further shenanigans, and Miho gets locked in the room. The girls have had enough, but Taro manages to muster the courage to go look for Miho, and she has to purposefully scare him off to avoid having to explain who she is. He runs away and bumps into their teacher, who's just wandering the halls with a knife. You see, he was cooking and listening to Chopin. The mystery is solved. Oh, and Pog was hiding in a crawl space the whole time. Thus, this sequence of well-timed contrivances mercifully ends. Miho figures out she can make things other than clothes with the notebook, which even comes as a surprise to the Furbies. What happens next is a genuinely entertaining experimentation on the limitations of the magic pen and notebook.
What are you drawing now? Hiroya Aikawa's new CD. I've wanted it for a long time.
My thoughts exactly. They find that it can make aesthetically perfect prop items, but if it has any components more complex than a simple machine, they don't work. This should be the end of the show right here. The rest should be about Miho creating mountains of gold and counterfeit money and then buying a private island. But no, next she tries to whip up a kitten, but predictably only gets a figurine. That night, however, some Deus Ex Machina happens and now she has a cat.
What do we have here? Cute!
Oh, how cute. She's created an affront to God. Also, now she just has one more responsibility that she has to hide. And she makes Bub and Bob take care of it while she's away at school. What did they do to deserve any of this? They're completely held hostage to the every whim of this impulsive little girl.
I've come up with with the perfect name.
Really?
Lilu.
Lee? Lou?
Yep, names like Lily and Lulu aren't cute enough, so she's Lilu.
Multipass. So the cat gets out and goes missing. Miho and Taro go looking for it. Just when all hope is lost, Miho finds the cat at a shrine and takes her home. I just noticed the little stars attached to Mog and Pog. That gives their transformations into the bracelets and earrings a little more reason and cohesiveness, so I appreciate that. And just when I'm about to get upset with this newfound life-creating ability with no strings attached, the catch becomes apparent while she's away at school. But wouldn't she already know about this from her clothing? Unless clothing has different rules, which they all seem to think that it does. I was about to applaud the show for confronting Miho with this harsh reality, but then the episode ends before she even becomes aware that her new cat that she loves so much has dematerialized, and no, this does not carry over into the next episode. It's treated like it never happened. You don't get to experience her reaction and how she finds the will to get over it, or what she learns from it, and you think, well, what was the point of this story? You got us emotionally invested with a kitten in peril and Miho crying, and there's not even a moment where someone in the show acknowledges the fact that this character is now gone forever. They don't validate our feelings at the end. They just push them aside and move on. I guess the lesson is, don't care. I feel sad, but it's not nearly as impactful without a surrogate character there to be sad with you. Wouldn't it have been interesting if Miho started drawing a new cat and then realized it wouldn't be the same cat and she could only have a bittersweet fleeting moment with a new one, and so she decides to just let it go for good? That would have been a surprisingly deep existential pause. But no, let's move right on to her singing career. The agency wants to try her out again as a singer.
Now for today's experiment. Have any of you kids ever recorded your voice on a tape and then played it back to listen to yourself?
Yep, it sounds like something between Droopy Dog and an irritated Ben Stein.
I live with my mom and dad and sister, and also that's my voice?
Horrified at hearing her voice as it really sounds for the first time, she becomes self-conscious and tries to back out of the singing project. But they expertly guilt-trip her into staying in. However, Pog decides on his own to try to sabotage the songwriter.
Did you do something to Ozu?
I'm sorry to keep you all waiting.
Mr. Otsu, what in the world happened to you? You're injured.
Well, you see, it's a little hard to explain.
Huh? This guy's invincible.
Wait, were you trying to kill him? I've never seen this side of you before.
We're only test recording today, so you can relax. Cue. Once again.
I can't sing!
She chokes again in the recording booth. The producer is willing to give her another shot tomorrow, but warns if she doesn't perform that her new rival, Mickey, will get the part. Maybe you should just, I don't know, be a regular third grader who has an offshore bank account where she keeps depositing fat stacks of disappearing bills. Taro's stubbornly obnoxious qualities are useful for once as he manages to pull Miho out of her depression, and she gives the singing thing a sincere second try. The catch is her celebrity crush, Hiroya Aikawa, is there.
I wish you good luck. Huh? Please don't get me wrong. I have no intention of looking like I took this song away from you, so good luck.
Man, on a rivalry intensity scale of 1 to Azumi from Princess 9, this ranks about a 2. This time, with newfound confidence and focus, she nails the part and proves herself capable.
And they got me facing, I can't live a normal life. I was raised by the state, so I gotta be down with the hood team. Too much television watching got me chasing dreams. I'm an educated fool with money on my mind. Got my tin in my hand and a gleam in my eye. I'm a loped out gangster, set tripping banker, and my homies is down, so don't arouse my anger, fool.
Her gigs just get weirder.
When I'm in the water, I have this strange feeling.
What do you mean?
I can't explain. I'm nostalgic for something I can't remember. Sort of a deja vu. Like I existed a long time ago, before my mother and father were alive, and there's no one around except for me.
So finally, here in episode 10, we're alluding to all that nonsense in the beginning that they vomited at us in the first episode, and then it immediately gets kicked under the bed for more stressful dilemmas. This time the agency wants Lala to do a CD release at a record store, but during the work week, which isn't in her contract because she's typically busy being a grade schooler at those times. They relent and plan to reschedule it for a later day. While the rivalry between Mickey and Lala is pretty mild, the conflict between their agents is where the sparks really fly. Mickey currently has the number 6 spot on the pop billboard. Some boasting happens and suddenly we're back to needing that CD release ASAP or the boss will never live it down.
What'll I do? Oh, we have a problem. Any advice?
Miho, if you take time off of school to go to Shizuoka, your parents will find out for sure.
I've just come up with a great idea.
What's that?
We can convince your teacher to bump the social science field trip to Friday.
Oh, so another Mrs. Doubtfire dinner night scheme. Because the last one worked so well. But before we even get that far, we have to pull off a Jane Eyre fortune teller scheme to get the teacher to change the date of the trip. So neither the school or her parents at home ever notice when she just wanders off occasionally to pursue her career as an idol. The reality of the venue not matching up with her delusions of grandeur doesn't faze Miho at all. Good lord, how is she that good?
Mystery Man.
Mystery Man?
Huh? Nothing.
Would you be able to tell me what this item is used for?
Huh? Well, this thing is called a CD, and there's music recorded on it.
Wait, that thing that looks like a brochure holds a CD? Is it like a PlayStation long box? No one is buying her CD until guess who shows up?
You know, all big stars have to start somewhere, and it's a lot of hard work. So I'll support you and buy your CD.
Really? Thanks so much.
Well, that was a surprisingly charitable and mature act for someone I hold a mild antipathy for. In their quest to promote Lala, the agency gets an in at... What? Didn't I just review this one? She gets to throw out the first pitch and her new song gets played at a regional baseball playoff game. Later, she gets to meet one of the team's star players, and also by complete happenstance, in accordance with the theme of the episode, she gets recruited to cheer for Taro's team in their upcoming baseball game against the Black Sox, which they have an 8-game losing streak against.
I can't get it right! Chisa showed me how before, but I can't remember.
Why don't you just draw the trousers in the magic book?
Hey, you're right, I didn't think of that.
Miho's friends are planning to show up and cheer, but in a misunderstanding are actually cheering for the rival team's cute ace pitcher, who happens to be the younger brother of the player she met earlier. For being terrible against the Black Sox, Taro's team manages a tight game at the end. Down by 1 in the final half inning, he gets a leadoff triple, but then it gets followed up with 2 strikeouts. Miho keeps feeding Taro baseball advice that she gleaned from the player she talked to.
What's your strategy gonna be, Coach?
Team, I'm taking full responsibility for this risky move I'm about to make.
Huh?
Pinch hitter! Miho Shinohara!
Are you kidding me? I guess adding a random stranger to your roster on the fly really is a thing. So she can't just go up there and bat, she has to go make herself a cute uniform.
This is ridiculous.
Wait, what? How does this magic work? How does this magic work? Were those two shots meant to establish a connection between what Miho was doing and what happened to Taro's pants? I thought stuff she made just vanished after a while, like we saw with the cat. Did his pants just happen to run out at that highly confusing moment? I mean, I have to admit this is exactly what I expected to happen when she decided to make him new pants, but also it's odd because she should be well aware of the limitations of the clothing she's been making since the first episode. Did she never look back in her closet and go, hey, what happened to my Blade Runner raincoat? I don't even know what to say about this. Moving on.
Here?
Mm-hmm. I heard a story about this place. The manager of the hospital fell into financial trouble and went insane.
This again?
And cut! Come on, Lala. Like I told you before, you need to lean right over top of Miki.
Oh, right, sorry.
Get it right.
Let me go! Let me go!
Oh, I see. Mickey is related to Taro and invited him and his friends to come over and watch them film the prequel to Session 9. Or maybe it's just another Hostel movie. After shooting, Miho changes back to her regular form while still on the premises, which is a stupid idea for obvious reasons. When she goes home, things start to get weird though.
Huh? What? You're eating dinner already? Just a minute, I'm gonna put my bag upstairs.
Pardon me, are you a friend of Miho's?
You haven't mistaken your home, have you?
I'm starving. Huh? A guest? Who are you?
Miho, is she a friend of yours?
Mom, I've never met her, Mom. What? Never seen her before in my life.
Neither have I. You know her, Chisa?
I don't recognize her.
Don't recognize her? She looks exactly like the other Miho. You should have thought she was Miho. This scene didn't play out correctly at all. She runs away not really knowing what to do, and everywhere people don't recognize her or are laughing and staring. Nothing really makes sense. It's just weird. This feels less like a magical predicament and more like a psychotic break and identity crisis. I want to write this off as just a dumb filler episode about a weird dream, but Mog and Pog were there too, so this was apparently a real thing that just happened, and it was supposed to mean something, but it didn't. I don't know what that was. You've wasted my time. What's next on the agenda? More singing. Miho's celeb crush, Hiroya, becomes a fan of her. Well, her Lala identity, anyway. After the show, the company car has some trouble, but Hiroya happens to be there to offer a ride. The ladies go with him, and then they get tailed by the paparazzi. The guy gets one shot taken out of context, and it's an instant secret love story. The funny thing is, when Miho becomes aware of this, she becomes angry, making it appear she's upset that her crush has a girlfriend, when in reality she's upset at a fake story about her.
There is absolutely no kissing going on. Miho, but where are you going?
Don't worry about her.
Huh? That's me!
And guess how that plays into the story. Go ahead, take a guess. It doesn't. Taro just gets shoehorned into everything now. The story is also causing major headaches at the talent agency. All their phones are tied up and there's a media circus camped out front. Lala and the agency stave them off for a while, but she realizes that she can't run forever and decides to field some questions to set things straight. Maybe it was all just a false alarm, but it definitely got her publicity.
Blast off! Hey, wait! My Toro rocket!
Why is that so funny to me?
My Toro rocket!
It starts raining, so they go find a creepy abandoned shed, as anime characters are wont to do.
Wow, look at all the toys.
See?
Is this place a toy store or something? I don't know.
I doubt it. 'Cause all these toys look dirty and old.
And it looks like a lot of them are broken, too. Huh?
Time to leave. Too late, you're dead. You're dead, you're so dead.
Here. Come on, he's right over here.
Huh? Mister, my car's sick again.
Please make it better.
It doesn't move, even if I wind it up.
Hey, what's that man doing in the other room?
He's a really great toy doctor.
A toy doctor?
He understands the toy's language.
So he's Doc McStuffins.
What's all that junk underneath the stairwell over there, huh?
That stuff's not junk. They're all hospital patients.
Is this patient waiting for a head transplant?
So those are all toys that were thrown away? He saved this clock from the trash heap.
Don't you think that guy is just a little bit weird, saying he speaks toy language?
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this one, Taro. Miho has a sad flashback about throwing a beloved toy away, and then she faints because she has a fever because in Japan rain makes you sick. Also, she reverts forms and her clothes disappear. Again, I have to shrug and go, I guess that's how the magic works. She starts having a fever dream and...
Hello, Miho.
Oh my god. So that's her old toy, I guess. The dream is kind of a Wizard of Oz thing, if it was more like that Toyland episode of Digimon Adventure.
Huh? Oh no, our balloon's been hit.
This Monzemon teddy bear seems heavily medicated.
But if we're in here, we won't be able to rescue the princess.
Do you two know the princess?
Who's there?
Excuse me, I'm a prince from the neighboring country.
A prince?
Well, you just walked right out of there, didn't you?
The professor said to press this button if we have any problems.
I didn't edit that. Miho and her sister start having a shared Inception dream. Is this also part of the magic? She opens the gates for them to escape, and they make it all the way to Castlevania, where they defeat the dragon and save the princess, who is a popsicle coming out of the freezer.
Huh? It's past its expiry date. I wonder if this is the real villain. I should have eaten it sooner.
Miho?
You know who the real villain was? Roast chicken!
What does that mean? So this was all just her working through this sad memory of a toy that we just now became aware of. And the only purpose of that weird guy with the toy shed was to set this up.
The princess!
I couldn't find her for the longest time. Then she showed up this morning.
What?
A rainbow!
Oh.
What? You are on thin ice here, show. You'd better turn things around in the next...
Bang! 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 Bang!
Will you stop that?
Are you Fancy Lala?
Hmm? Mm-hmm.
That's a funny name. Bang! Bang! Who is this kid?
Beats me!
Hey! What's this?
Hey! Stop!
Let go of Pug!
This annoying kid is the son of Miho's boss at the talent agency, which is news to Miho because he lives with his dad and they are divorced. Also, his dad, Kishi, is a guitarist for Hiroya, so that's how she meets him. Miho's overactive imagination tells her this could happen to her the same way it happened to this kid, and she starts worrying and meddling. This episode is okay. Miho gets exposed to another complexity of the adult world that she doesn't understand and naively thinks can be fixed. Kishi apparently finds a woman he's serious about, giving some sense of finality to the relationship and closing the chapter. When you look at the big picture, all three people here seem happy and functional. Miho, I guess, comes to terms with the concept of divorce even if she still doesn't seem to get it. Speaking of growing up, Miho plans to go visit her grandparents in the country. By herself.
Miho, it's ready.
What? Leave home at 10:30 sharp. At the front door, turn left, walk 500 meters down the hill. Arrive at corner store 10:35?
Remember MapQuest? All she has to do is follow her dad's meticulously detailed itinerary.
Does it say anything about when you missed your train?
What a worthless perfect plan!
No problem. I'll just get on the next train. Okay.
You sure? This train's a different model than the last one.
Of course I'm sure. It's the same track.
Flawless logic. On the trip, she thinks about her grandparents' house, recalling some memories about her time there. But surprise, surprise, the train doesn't go where she wants.
A frozen orange? Huh? Do you like them?
What? No! Actually, now I'm kind of curious. Miho gets stuck in train purgatory while her grandparents wait anxiously.
Looking good!
Lala, you're splendid!
Hello!
Hold that smile!
What are they doing?
I'm bored of this.
Okay, that was a decent waiting for a train gag. They finally get to where she's supposed to take a bus, and then she loses track of Mog and Pog. Thankfully, she gets some help from none other than the kid she was planning to avoid.
You that Shinohara kid?
Huh?
You remember me? It's been 3 years, mind you.
That was 3 years ago? You look practically the same. You guys should have been like fetuses or something. So what are we gonna do at the grandparents' house for a whole week? A bunch of country stuff. Rummaging around in a shed, Miho finds a weird, supposedly mythical item. It's the disc off the head of a water imp. They never mention the actual Japanese name for the type of creature, but they're called kappa. And then Miho's like, oh yeah, water imp. I've seen those. Miho's city life follows her to the country as Hiroya and Mickey, of all people, show up. Apparently they do some kind of Rick Steves travel show, and they're here to spotlight the town. Naturally, the town's kappa stories are an important detail, and Miho ends up in front of the camera giving her recounting of the time she saw a kappa. Mickey has a run-in with Pog, and since people in Japan can't touch water, she's put on the disabled list. Never underestimate the fragility of a Japanese girl. Fancy Lala is picked to replace her on the show, but after the weird thing with Pog, the director wants to go full cryptid hunting angle on the show, and they set off to find a water imp. There's back and forth about this maybe being a waste of time, and Miho gets frustrated with people's disbelief in the water imp, which she swears to be real. Miho gets some cucumbers to help lure the kappa. Apparently that's a thing. She runs into Soichi, or rather he runs into her, and she needs to explain the cucumbers. She then tells him about her water imp encounter, which prompts him to laugh and reveal that that was actually just him in a costume 3 years ago. Miho is so incensed that she sets off a contrived zany chain reaction resulting in a phony documented encounter. Why did she throw the costume in the water? Why did Yoshio put it on and go lurking around in the woods? Stupid, stupid, stupid.
I guess water imps really don't exist. Still, I know the water imp on camera was only Yoshio, but what about the first one that attacked Miki? So that means that water imps do exist.
Stupid. We really seem to be getting off in the weeds here, as our last days in the country consist of a bunch of little mundane events that are of no consequence and don't advance the storyline. Still better than the dream episodes. Of note, Miho has another weird prehistoric experience in the woods where she faints.
Huh? Mystery Man?
Oh, good. Or not good. The whole point of the episode, I guess, was Miho softening the relationship between Soichi and the girl next door that he's kind of a jerk to. We could have skipped this. Back in school, Miho is tasked with returning a few years old essay by her sister that her teacher found while cleaning. The essay was so good she won some award for it. This serves as a catalyst for cultivating a new inferiority complex for Miho. She begins to yearn for the easy life of an older sibling.
I'm not a baby! You were still wetting your bed until recently.
Well, at least no one heard that.
Were you still wetting your bed until recently?
Then, in order to punish her for her insolence, the Fates transport her back in time to inhabit her sister's body, at the same time the essay was written. She has absolutely no control over the body, she's just a powerless observer. This gives her a way to directly compare her to her older sibling on a level playing field. For instance, Miho is better at navigating the neighborhood than Chisa at her age. This is where things get interesting. The mystery man we've been seeing popping up every other episode shows up and tries to offload a pair of eggs on Chisa that look suspiciously like Mog and Pog eggs. I mean, what we would think they would look like anyway. However, Chisa rejects the eggs, ditching them near the trash, and she misses out on her opportunity to be a magical girl.
Huh? Hi, how are you doing? Huh?
What the? Oh my god, he's an incubator. He goes around peddling magic to children, but how and why? That was an enticing little reveal. Well, you knew this was coming. Miho's producer mom pops into the stage where she's working because they're going to be working on a project together.
Are you trying to tell me that my mom is, the person we just met is well known?
Really, Miho? How do you just gloss over such a bizarre slip-up? The issue here isn't more of Miho maintaining her secret identity, it's interacting with her mom as an acquaintance in a professional setting. And worse, she keeps picking up derogatory chatter at work about her mom being a difficult control freak. So what's Lala's new job? Basically the Japanese equivalent of Fear Factor. Mickey did a bungee jump. For Lala's scenario, she has to learn from an escape artist how to escape her bonds in time, or she'll die in a horrible explosion, I guess. Although people at work say some nasty things about her mom, Miho's major freakout is actually over her mom having buddy-buddy relationships with people she doesn't know at all. They have one of those weird proxy I have this friend with a problem conversations, which gives them both some insight, and we move on to Mr. Asaka's relationship problems. Oh god, I'm so alone. Oh, hello kid I've never seen before and just got introduced 20 episodes into the show.
Your grade 3's top mystery fanatic, because the criminal was exactly who you thought it would be.
It was simple detective work.
I know.
Kira, does that mean you have a crush on Mr. Asaka?
I never said anything like that. I just mean he's still a great teacher, that's all.
Now, calm down. Don't you think it's weird he doesn't have a wife or a girlfriend at his age?
When your third graders think you're gay but don't know what gay is.
Are any of you aware of the fact that Mr. Asaka has just bought himself a cell phone?
Oh, really?
According to my information, Mr. Asaka bought the cell phone 3 days ago at the convenience store in front of the station.
So he might have bought the phone so he could easily reach his girlfriend.
After class, I'll start an investigation to confirm this.
So yeah, that's the gist. The kids are snooping around in Mr. Asaka's personal life to see if he has a lady friend. Incidentally, there's a young female student teacher observing his classes.
A cell phone has the feature of storing phone numbers that are called.
Oh, does it? My, what a time to be alive.
Okay, Taro, go ahead and call the number.
Me? I don't want to call it. What if Mr. Asaka's girlfriend answers?
But that's the whole reason why we snuck into the teacher's office.
But what am I gonna say?
Don't ask me. Think of something.
Why should I do it?
It's the least you could do.
I'll make the call.
Huh?
Hey, Premier Discreet Connections, America's sizzling romance service for the 90s is here.
This is so stupid.
Should I tell you that was an edit, or just let Poe's Law do its thing like usual? Also, Mr. Asaka has been doing this after school. We don't know exactly what he's doing, but I do know that there's enough material in this show to make a trailer that makes it look like it's about someone who abducts children. Anyway, the student teacher sees him looking suspicious and thinks she recognizes him. What is the point of this plot thread? It's just distracting as far as I can tell. Later, the kids overhear the teacher speaking with his overbearing mom in private and think that he's two-timing on some girl in another town.
Yes, I can't wait to see Sachiko either.
Sachiko? His secret has finally been unveiled.
What are you talking about all of a sudden?
Back to the other thing. The student teacher sees him creeping again and decides to interfere, and of course, it was all just a misunderstanding.
Well, I have a bad tendency to jump to conclusions.
I have to agree with that.
But why were you wearing sunglasses?
I thought they'd make me look like a tough guy and intimidate the thief if I had to face him.
Wait, thief? What thief? They never said anything about a thief, did they? Oh, turns out this shot right here was supposed to establish that? But not being able to read these posters, I completely missed their significance to the plot. Somebody dropped the ball here.
Yes?
Good evening, sir. Oh, I'm from Pizza Factory. I've got the pepperoni and mushroom you just ordered.
What? But I didn't place a pizza order today.
Ugh, my stomach.
Oh no, are you okay?
Excuse me just one moment.
Hey, wait!
Huh. They're finally reinventing that tired old porno trope. Miho barges into her teacher's house and is relieved to find that he appears to be maintaining his chastity.
However, we still don't know who Sachiko is.
Katsuno-shin. What should I do, Sachiko?
Da-da-da-da-da-da. That episode was just disjointed and weird. The show treats us with another late introduction of some more characters from Miho's school that really feel like they should have popped up a long time ago. But I'm glad they didn't. These twins run the school newspaper, which contains nothing more than tabloid conspiracy theories. They try to get an interview with Miho about her water imp story, but when she doesn't show up, they go looking for her, and then become intrigued by her suspicious behavior. So they decide to tail her to find out more. And surprisingly, they nail her. Although without ever directly witnessing Miho's magical powers, their accusation has to make a pretty big logical leap. Miho freaks out thinking her career is going to be over until she hatches a plan to apparently prove she's not Lala, but it's going to require the help of her stalker. Yes, Lala has a stalker, and he's very good at doctoring photos. Oh, just another scene where a little kid is completely at the mercy of some creepy man of questionable intent. Miho gets this guy to make photos of her posing with her alternate form Lala, promising a meeting with Lala as a reward. What could go wrong? She leaves the photos for the twins to find, which gives them a momentary setback until they overhear her conversation with the stalker over the fake photos.
Would you stop it?
Tell a teacher or call the police. You don't have to put up with this. No one's going to believe them if they start babbling about a third grader being fancy Lala. They witness Miho sprain her ankle on the stairs. What's the punchline? Lala is supposed to compete in a sports day tomorrow. If they're really the same person, then Lala will be out with an ankle injury. At the last minute, Miho gets the idea to make Mog and Pog into magical shoes, which somehow helps her perform in the event despite the injury. Then she follows up as Miho with a show of her debilitating injury, and her identity is safe once again. And the twins hopefully enter back into obscurity for the remainder of the show. We're going to focus back on older sister Chisa for a moment. It's established that she has a sort of maybe boyfriend, but she keeps getting pestered by another boy for attention, and she finally agrees to meet with him. He's super hot, but kind of clumsy and dumb, but in an endearing way.
It's like a dream, but it's reality. So cool.
Is this guy high? He asks her out to a movie, and Chisa says yes. Miho picks up on this questionable decision surprisingly quick and takes issue with it. But it's okay because Chisa's going to clear it up with her sort of maybe boyfriend with this super awkward convo.
Should I go with him?
Well, I guess so.
Don't mind?
So, where are you going?
To see the movie She's So Pretty.
Oh, I hear it's not too bad.
Like two strangers on a subway. Miho does some espionage in disguise and some meddling, not in disguise, and some more espionage, and it's just another one of those things she can't wrap her head around.
It's not right for her to go off and date another guy at the same time now, is it?
You want an answer to that?
Yeah, I do.
The answer is...
Yes?
Each romantic relationship is different.
Huh?
Huh. That's actually a really good answer without getting weird. Everyone needs a hairdresser therapist. The two go on a second date to a Hiroya concert. There's a kiss. Now I can never get married! You have to fill in the blanks for why the date ended the way it did and why Chisa started going steady with the first guy, because this is all the explanation you get. But hey, Fancy Lala lands her first concert. The agency staff talks it up as an incredible accomplishment since it usually doesn't happen this fast for other idols. Talk from Mickey's agent filters all the way back to Miho about how speedy concerts can be a kiss of death in the talent world when your agency wants to cut you loose, so they set you up to bomb.
I'm concerned about my future.
Huh?
Bye.
You'll be hearing that soundbite again.
In a few years from now, when I become about the same age as Lala, what do you think is gonna happen to her? Will Lala grow older too?
Well, why don't you answer that?
How should I know what's gonna happen?
You get this magical pen and pad and transformation powers and these little floating gremlins, but nobody knows why or how anything works. It just is. Lala learns dancing from the Gordon Ramsay of dance instructors. On top of that, Lala's performance gets panned by critics before it even happens. All of this crushing pressure is making Miho want to scrap Fancy Lala altogether.
You see that up there? I wonder if the star twinkling right above us high in the sky can see that we're watching it shine.
No, it can't. Miho is reinvigorated when she hears a radio host play her single and decides to carry on.
Even my mama thinks that my mind is gone, but I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it.
She passes out her handful of free tickets surreptitiously to friends and family. Square Enix must have designed her poster because she looks like a hybrid of Garnet and Tifa. Although I think Square Enix was just Squaresoft at this point, but whatever. And in the end, we don't see the show, but apparently it was good, and it looks like she's made it big. Unfortunately, Miho soon loses her magic pen and notebook somewhere in town, and with it, her ability to transform, which means no more Fancy Lala until she finds it. After a fruitless, exhaustive search, she has to take a personal day and cancel her next gig. She basically has to go into hiding until she can find her pen. At the end of her rope, she asks Mog and Pog to try to create a new one. They try, but accidentally open a gateway back to their own time. Or space. Or space-time. Whatever. Suddenly, they're gone, and Miho is just a regular little girl with a regular life. Hiroya and the staff are worried. Miho is depressed that that entire part of her life and the people in it are just gone now. She meets up with Mystery Man again.
Why did you give me those magical powers?
No reason, really. Some find the magic too overwhelming for them. Some rely too much on the magic and eventually fail. Some throw it away, thinking they don't need it and it's a waste of time. People vary. Losing the magic is just another way.
Losing the magic is a way to what? What do you mean?
Well, Farewell, Miho.
Don't you dare disappear without explaining the... Curse you! Well, at least she hears Mog and Pog speaking from afar, so they're not gone forever, I guess. It looks like it really is over for Fancy Lala, though, as the agency has to officially say she's gone, and Miho begins adapting back to the carefree life of a grade schooler. Then one day she just happens to run into Komi, her old hairdresser, and it's revealed that he, of all people, also met the mystery man when he was a child. After doing her hair, he realizes that she's Lala, and we get the tiniest bit of affirmation of Miho's accomplishments as Lala. And yep, that's it. Hopefully that magical pen found its way to a child with an affinity for counterfeiting money. This was an odd take on the magical girl genre, where typically a girl has some sort of magical powers and for whatever reason uses them to either battle enemies or help people with problems. Fancy Lala was all about a girl getting powers and using them to do stuff almost exclusively for her. And that is a foreign concept to me. I kept waiting for an antagonist, a Queen Beryl or whatever, to pop up and refocus the story on a specific achievable goal, but it never happened. In hindsight, that sounds like a stupid expectation, because how is Fancy Lala supposed to defeat anything with fashion and singing? It's kind of unfair that I was judging the show for so long by a Sailor Moon criteria when that's just not the kind of show it is. However, it does go out of its way to generate a feeling of danger and mystery and even a sense of impending disaster early on with some legitimately freaky imagery, so having that expectation was not unfounded. It felt like the show had miscommunicated or misrepresented itself. I don't mind that the show took the slice of life but with magic route, but I wish that it would have incorporated more purpose into the magical aspect of the show. Miho gets magically imbued items in episode 1 which allow her to bring sketched objects into existence for a time, and the question we're left with for the whole rest of the show is why, and we never get an answer. It really felt like this was meant to be an ability that had a specific intended purpose and she just hadn't figured out what that purpose was. But no, it's just weird magic that random kids get for some reason. Mystery Man gives us the "you decide what you do with the magic" explanation. Okay, I get that, but what are we left with after that decision is made? What research are you doing here? What lessons are the children taking away from this experience that you're giving them? Then there's everything surrounding the magic. Why is Mystery Man doing this? How is he doing it? He's like a door-to-door magic salesman. The story seems to be alluding to him being eternal or at least a Time Lord. What is this ancient times connection with them all? Is that just to show us how they've been around forever? Why do Mog and Pog never look like the enormous dragons they showed us in the beginning? Why are Mog and Pog even necessary to the magic? I mean, they turned into shoes that one time, but otherwise they were superficial accessories like earrings, and they hardly knew jack about the magic. If anything, they were just allies that Miho could bounce problems off of and share in the experience. And that's not really a mark against them. Mog and Pog are actually my favorite part of the show. I find them genuinely cute and funny. I just don't know why they needed to be here other than for obligatory mascot fodder. There's a final stab at the closing arguments during Miho's conversation with Komi that also falls flat. We learn that he had the same experience with the Mystery Man. Well, what did he do with the magic? Could he transform too? What did he learn? What are your thoughts now that you're an adult? Clue us in, I can't believe this. He says Miho can still be Fancy Lala without magic. She just has to grow up a little. So what? The purpose of the magic and the whole show was just to show a little girl a preview of adulthood? That's stupid. You're gonna be stuck as an adult for most of your life. Spend more time being a kid. Well, maybe now that she's seen it, she'll appreciate being a kid more now? Except no, because she cried about losing the pen and notebook and looked everywhere for them for days. She clearly wants her career back and her work friends. She doesn't want to just be a kid. So the setup and payoff didn't do it for me. What about the overall journey from an entertainment standpoint? The show has its ups and downs. It shines when Miho is experimenting creatively with magic or doing odd jobs in entertainment. It's insufferable in its dream and fantasy episodes. I can't stand these episodes because they happen in a vacuum. They're inconsequential to the story, but then again, the story is also inconsequential, so I don't know. There are too many episodes that just add nothing and aren't worth watching. I'll say this though, Fancy Lala's single is decent. I never actually played it for you, so here it is.
I know that each love is longing for another. My heart is beating so hard and I just can't go on, 'cause something's wrong with me. I need to know that you are here.
This show is inoffensive and charming in places, but overall it's kind of just one of those things you might have on in the background if you put it on. If you've got nothing else to watch, it's not gonna hurt you. Well, until next time, keep running in the 90s. Loose and baggy!